Once upon a time, me and a couple buddies decided to drop acid and go on a super short and easy hike on a Saturday night in the middle of summer. Well, I don't know if I even call it a hike. It's almost more of just a good, solid power walk, but it was at least a good, solid trail down to the bottom of Snoqualmie Falls. And of course, the only way back down to the trailhead parking lot is, well, going back up. It was basically reversed or opposite of most hikes, where instead of going up at first, you go down and then up. I'd say round trip of the whole thing was around 2 miles, and I'm not quite exactly sure. So it's more of a walk in the park, but on acid, man, it felt like double the amount. Anyway, the three of us stupid young stoners just kind of decided to do acid on a whim one night. And I'd like to mention that one of the friends in our group just bought a new AR-15 semi-automatic rifle with lots of rounds and was eager to go out into the middle of nowhere in the east side of Seattle to shoot it into the wilderness, and thought maybe he'd shoot it eventually later in our acid trip. Yes, we thought it was a very good and fun idea. Why, you ask? Because America, that's why. So we get to the parking lot of Snoqualmie Falls in the early night and proceed to stick the tab of Lucy under our tongue and commence our trip in my friend's car. We chill in the parking lot for a good 30-40 minutes, just smoking a bunch of weed and even we drank a beer or two. Oh, that was weird. I think I had a stroke there or something. But yeah, we drank a beer or two, and eventually it started to hit us. Things started feeling funny. Our vision was wavy, colors got more saturated, I was turning gay, and we started giggling like a bunch of pretentious high school teenage girls who just barely made it to their high school's cheerleading team. So, we decided to pack up our liquids, snacks, weed, and my gigantic 3 feet tall bong, and began trekking down to the bottom of the huge waterfall. And man, I remember staring into the seemingly abyss of the waterfall surrounded by darkness, and it looked much more epic and huge than I anticipated. And yeah, it was my first time going there. So we had to use our phone flashlights to see the trail going down, and the whole time I thought, shit, we gotta go back up this later. Mind you, this was a little later in my college years when I wasn't the most in shape and I was still smoking and drinking like a depressed 45-year-old man going through a midlife crisis. Kind of like Kevin Spacey's character in the movie American Beauty. And if you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend it. So, we surprisingly make it to the bottom, and I say surprisingly because as we were going down the trail, man, it felt like forever. It felt like bottomless on acid, like bottomless French fries. Or maybe not. I'm not sure where I was going with that French fry metaphor joke, but anyway, we found a place to sit as close as to the waterfall, which was on a big giant rock that all the three of us could barely climb on top to, and we just chilled and sat there, staring at the water and the waterfall, probably for an hour or two. And of course, I pulled out my bong and loaded some weed, and we smoked as well, getting higher than we already should be. And yeah, I remember just the three of us laughing and cracking jokes the whole entire time. It honestly felt like a very wholesome, chill moment. Something that I remember in my mind so well for some reason. It was just a good, chill time. Nothing bad happened. No strangers came by. No animals wanted to rape us. Jeffrey Dahmer didn't come out of nowhere to kidnap us. It was just a solid, wholesome, good time being in nature while tripping on acid with good friends. But eventually, that friend with the AR-15 suddenly realized that he still wanted to fire that rifle and still had it in the trunk of his car and brought up the idea to drive further out into the east and finally shoot that thing. So we packed up and now have to make our way back up. So still somewhat on the peak of our acid trip, going back up felt like eternity in hell, where I swear I heard the most evil people like Adolf Hitler, Pol Pot, the parking enforcement, and even freaking ISIS or those terrorists that record themselves chopping people's heads out for fun were all pointing their fingers and laughing at me with evil intentions. I just remember being insanely out of breath after the first 100 feet, like as if I was having an asthma attack with my mouth full of cum and having to take constant breaks. I was cramping in both of my legs and just chugging a bunch of water and liquid IV along the way. Then, when one of my buddies criticized at how slow I was going, that same friend that called me fat previously, explained in a previous video, I came up with an excuse that I was carrying my large bong with tons of weed and water, and it was weighing me down like a mofo. To which my friend offered to carry it for me, but man, Papa raised no bitch. And I said I can keep going. So, again, he was my motivation to fight through the pain and make it to the top, or to the trailhead in this case. I said I might as well finish strong. So, eventually we made it back to the parking lot, and we all got one last good view at the waterfall. Almost tearing up and creating our own waterfalls from our eyeballs at the site. And of course, we smoked one last joint and then ventured eastbound to find a more remote, secluded area to shoot this AR-15. So after about an hour of driving east in the middle of the night, pitch black with no cars in sight, probably around I want to say 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or so, my friend impulsively thought it was the right time to fire this AR-15 rifle. So we pull over to the side of this random highway road real quickly, and my two friends got out of the car while I stayed inside as I was just too tired, too high, and too gay at this point. And so the friend with the rifle, he went to the trunk and pulled out the big gun. And I remember looking out the back window and seeing him hold his AR-15 like he was Tony Montana from the last scene in Scarface in that big shootout. So after a few seconds, he aimed it into the woods, and then I hear a big gay yell, like, "Aah!" Almost sounded like he was having a seizure or something, but I don't know. It was kind of weird. But yeah, and then he shot his rifle into the surrounding woods a few times. I think he even unloaded a whole entire magazine. So then, after he shot that thing, he quickly put the rifle back into his trunk, shut it closed, and the two friends quickly rushed back into the car, and we drove off hurriedly. Still, no cars nor people in sight. And then I remember just pure silence for a good long moment afterwards. We just had good music playing in the background, and we just listened with satisfaction, in peace and quiet. And eventually, the first words were uttered by the other buddy in the passenger seat. Him saying, of course, "Anyone want to spark another joint?" To which, of course, we all agreed yes. And yeah, that was it. We all just got back home peacefully. I jerked off. It was just a good, memorable night for me for some reason. If you were expecting a Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay story or something like Pineapple Express, then sorry to disappoint you folks. It was just the fact that we took a psychedelic like acid and went on a mini hiking trip, which is something I probably won't do again. The acid just made hiking not enjoyable for me at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love being in nature and going for a small, easy stroll while stripping on psychedelics. It's probably my preferred environment, to be honest, being in nature. Other than sitting at home and watching a comedy movie like Rush Hour. Yes, Rush Hour while on shrooms or acid is the best movie to watch while tripping. Don't knock it until you try it. But anyway, yeah, my next video, I plan on sharing my most memorable mushroom experience during a camp trip along the Olympic National Park, where shit actually went bad. But not too bad to the point where one of us had to go to the hospital or to jail, but kinda almost. Well, alright, that's it, folks. Didn't mean to bore you, but it was just something I wanted to share. See you next time.
Hit like and subscribe. Don't forget.